The spiritual life should make the most of scientific knowledge. All evil starts from a mind that concentrates only on scientific knowledge and is totally withdrawn from God. This is why it is difficult for scientists to find inner peace and balance. By contrast, when the mind revolves around God and the sanctified, science can then be used to cultivate our inner life and benefit the world. Are you saying, Geronda, that science does not help people? No. Science can be of great help, but it can also muddle the mind greatly. I have met souls who possessed great clarity of mind even though they had only minimal education. Their minds that had been confused by science receive the grace of God. They become equipped with a clarity that only enhances their work. But if their tools are not sanctified, if their knowledge lacks holiness, this knowledge will only be good for secular things. It will have no spiritual impact whatsoever. Our intellectual tools can be sanctified very quickly if we have the right kind of concern. Scientists and educated people who place their inner education, the education of their souls, first and use even their outer education to benefit their inner one, are those that are quickly spiritually transformed. If they also strive to live spiritually, then they can be a positive example for people because they can help remove the anxiety of hell from human hearts and open the way for heavenly joy. It may be that those less educated may have fewer diplomas, but being filled with divine grace rather than degrees, they can really help others. The world is so full of sin that what we need the most is prayer and the spiritual life. All these books and papers are like paper money. They have value only if there are gold reserves in our inner bank. We must therefore descend into the mine of the soul and work hard. I remember an elderly monk at Esfigmeno monastery on Mount Athos who was so simple that he thought Ascansion was the name of a female saint. He prayed to her on his combos coini. Saint of God, intercede for us. Once he had to feed a sick brother in the infirmary, but there was no food. He immediately went down the stairs, opened a window overlooking the sea, stretched out his arms and said, Ascansion, my saint, give me a little fish for the brother. And right away, what a miracle! A big fish jumped out of the sea and into his hands. The other who saw him were astonished, but he simply looked at them smiling, as if he were saying, What's so strange about what you've just seen? Now look at us. We may know everything about the life and martyrdom of the saints, or about when and how the ascension took place, and yet we cannot even catch a tiny little fish. These are the strange and paradoxical things of the spiritual life. These are things that the minds of intellectuals who are centered on themselves and not on God cannot explain because their knowledge is of this world. It is sterile. Their spirits are ill with secularism and their minds are void of the Holy Spirit.